Please welcome to the stage Executive Director, Touchstone Energy Cooperatives, Miss Jana Adams.
I'm right here. Hello. How's everybody doing? I thought that it was bad being after lunch. It was way worse being after Micah. Impressive. So I am a little bit of a satisfaction evangelist right now. That is my mission for this year. And so we have three fantastic panelists that I'm going to talk with in just a little bit. But I'm going to start off with some words that I've shared a couple of times this year, but I think are really important. And it's really important for CEOs, it's really important for trustees to understand what drives satisfaction. So, satisfaction is not the end. Satisfaction is the beginning. And so that is where we start when we're educating our members and working with our members on how to strengthen relationships with their member owners. So I wanted to share really quickly some top drivers of satisfaction as we have collected it from a couple of decades of research of member owners. So number one, this is your number one driver outside of, and we'll just go ahead and say, you gotta keep the lights on. You gotta do your regular work right almost all the time. What makes the difference between the individuals in this room and Duke Energy, Dominion, where I live, is membership. It is that you are serving not customers or ratepayers of a utility, you're serving members of a cooperative. And to quantify that, it is I should do this math before I look at the slide because I'm not real great at mental math, but I'm pretty sure it's 13 points. Am I doing my math right? Okay, good. Whew. With a room full of engineers, I knew that was a struggle. 13-point boost just between an individual that you serve that knows that they get a bill and they pay it, but they don't know much about you, and they believe they're a customer, versus someone that you have engaged with and you have educated on the cooperative business model and knows that they're a member. Second, again, we measure all of this, is that drives satisfaction is sharing messages that resonate and stick. That's kind of obvious, like if your messages are good and people remember them, then they're going to improve satisfaction. That said, you'd be surprised at how many people don't measure that. They're like, ooh, that's pretty. Let's have that ad going. We did that for a while at Touchstone Energy. And so about 4 years ago, and I think they were good, so don't get me wrong, I think the ads were good, but we couldn't quantify it. So we started an initiative 4 years ago where we measure. These are the ads that a couple of the campaigns that we do, but we measure three things every year. One, do you remember seeing these ads? Do you remember the messages in the ads? Number two, if you remember them, do you associate them with your electric cooperative? And number three, if you do those things, what is your satisfaction level? And so again, we've surveyed almost 50,000 member owners across the country in the last 4 years to uncover those three things. And we're really happy to say that it's consistently, this is the brand new Q4 2024 data is incorporated in this. 8.7% higher satisfaction scores among those that remember the ads. So thinking about what you're talking about, thinking about the messages that you're delivering, and making sure they're moving the needles. That's one thing that Touchstone Energy has been doing for the past 4 years, and we're happy to say that all of you get national ads that we run in the service area, the zip codes served by your cooperatives, and so we hope that they're continuing to move the needle on satisfaction. This is the easiest one, surveying your members. And I'll put air quotes for surveying. Asking your members what they think. The fact of asking somebody what they think actually helps move the needle on them liking you more. Sometimes, I say all the time when I'm speaking, it's not always, if you you have an annual meeting or a member engagement committee or some activity where you're working to elicit input from your membership, sometimes people get really disappointed because not many people come. Half of the impact of that is having it, of eliciting feedback, taking feedback, asking for it, and putting it to use. Again, we measure it, so we know that the average cooperative went way up in 2020. This is 2023, 2024 data. It runs mid-year to mid-year. Was 78. The previous year it was 73. So cooperatives as a whole are doing well. Those that take the time to ask, and these three folks are among those, go up over 12 points. So surveying your members helps you both get the feedback you need to better serve your members, but it also, just the act of asking for feedback makes an impact. So we've been asking and coordinating with a lot of different research firms on delivering ACSI, American Customer Satisfaction Index scores. Has anyone heard of those? Raise your hand. A few people. Looks like most people, so I won't go into a big explanation. But it's sort of, it's just a neutral benchmarking tool, 1 out of 100, to determine kind of where are you. What we had never done is ask co-ops what you're doing that might impact satisfaction. So we did that for the first time this year. We're going to continue doing it. I think that we'll get better at it every year, but our initial results, I'm so blind, I should have been on this side. I'm going to go stand over here. So these are what we call our key attributes of high-performing co-ops. Again, we surveyed about 125 cooperatives. They participated, and some of these are things you can't influence. They are. But some of them certainly are things you can influence. So of those who scored an 85 or higher that responded to our survey, they're increasing their residential membership, so they're growing. That's just a feature. They track demographic data. That's really important. Peter talked about that earlier today, and the ability to segment your messaging to be able to deliver very precisely to the individual. My caveat with that, which I 100%, I'm a marketing person for my whole career, 100% yes, and it's got to be the same message. It can be delivered in different ways and it can have different words, but you can't just completely change what you're communicating about based on demographic information, because that goes to trust when people see that they might be getting different things. So anyway, that's a little bit of an aside. They have email addresses to communicate with their members. I know that's a challenge with a lot of our members, is having that ability to communicate via email. It's not the only way you should communicate, but it is an important mechanism to be able to reach members quickly and easily. We have a product called Questline. Is anyone familiar with Questline? Okay, few, not as many as ACSI. So Questline is a member resource, a member owner resource. So energy efficiency information, safety information, it's all written in a very user-friendly way. It's very accessible for your end-of-the-line consumers to access. And we found that the folks who are using it to educate their member owners are getting higher scores. They conduct annual surveys, and they leverage multiple social media channels. That was an important and a little bit of surprising one, because all of the research we've ever done has said Facebook is supreme. If you're communicating with your member owners via Facebook, you're in good shape. What we found, and I know this is a lot of data, so you can look at it later when they send it to you, but if you look at the third row down, have a YouTube account. That was one of the biggest differences between the whole data set and those high-performing co-ops that we filtered out. And I think that's not surprising, because it's a different way to communicate. You're able to communicate, people receive information very differently. I will look everywhere for the transcript of a video before I will watch the video. I don't know why. I don't like watching videos online. Now my 17-year-old daughter doesn't really do anything but watch videos online. So having that ability to communicate different ways. So this is a really good reservoir of ideas, because these are the areas where there was the largest difference between that high-performing cohort and the full data set of members that participated. So what can you do to impact member satisfaction? So we've given the drivers, pointed to some individual activities that different cooperatives are doing. What can you do? Track satisfaction and benchmark, obviously. We are launching a brand new research tool in 2025 called the Cooperative Advantage Report. If you're coming to Power Exchange, my remarks are going to be very focused on this, so I'm not going to share them, even though they're in my head and I really want to share them. But the Cooperative Advantage is going to be a new opportunity for you to participate in national research, and it's included in your Touchstone Energy dues, so there's no additional fee. You'll get an ACSI score, as well as a robust set of information from the national report about we just are honing in on the specific drivers, so it's going to have information on outage and recovery, how people want to receive information about outages, a whole section on member engagement and how folks want to be engaged with. So it's really 5 key areas, lots of data that we'll be able to collect. We expect a lot of participation because the price is right. So we really encourage you to think about participating in this, this research. The goals are basically to get everybody an ACSI score. Again, I said it starts with satisfaction. Getting that score is where you should start. Knowing where your members are today gives you the opportunity to impact where they'll be tomorrow. We want to be able to identify across the nation and have really robust participation so that we can see how does it change geographically, regionally, size of co-op. We'll be able to filter and fine-tune based on lots of different metrics that we've never been able to do before because we haven't had the volume. And then there's an opportunity to get a report just for your cooperative or for the state of Ohio to get an aggregate report for the entire state. So there's lots of ways to benefit from this, but the first step is to just get a score, because satisfaction is where it starts. Weave member identity and the Cooperative Advantage throughout everything you do. We talked about member identity being the single biggest driver of satisfaction. Talk about membership. Talk about member identity, talk about the Cooperative Advantage and what it means to be served by a cooperative. I thought Micah's words were fantastic of how the community came together when her dairy barn was blown down. That's part of the cooperative identity, that ability to come together as a community. That's what Touchstone Energy does. These are a few of our advertising themes, so use our resources. Go get them. Play them at your annual meetings. Put them on your website. It's an easy way to hone in on those specific messages. And the brand new ad that came out in November was filmed right here in Ohio. Do we have any Hancock Wood folks here? I know we do. It was filmed in Hancock Wood service territory. You might see some familiar faces in here. And so I'm going to show it to you.
It's good to know Hancock Wood Electric Cooperative is always there. For generations, we've powered the growth of our community. Today, our commitment is stronger than ever to provide affordable energy you can depend on and keep you connected to what matters most. Now, and for generations to come, Hancock Wood Electric Cooperative is a Touchstone Energy Cooperative, your source for power and information.
So that ad was specific to Hancock Wood. We have a version that's general for Touchstone Energy, and every cooperative in here can actually now customize all of our ads with your logos. That was a change we made early last year, and it's been, as you might expect, very well received, because you can have an incredibly well-produced professional ad. And if you saw on their phone, it said Hancock Wood at the top. It could very easily say Logan County, or Midwest, or Butler Rural Electric. Obviously, the ending plate can say that, and the voiceover can say your cooperative. And it's not just the new ad, it's all of our ads can be locally digitalized. And if you've heard me say this before, my apologies, but it makes me laugh every time. I was watching the film, the ad that we filmed in Rappahannock a couple of years ago, and there was a really amazing Touchstone Energy bucket truck. We don't have a bucket truck, as it turns out. I know that's shocking. So that means our logo was being digitally placed there. So why can't we put your logo there? And we now can. A little side note, you actually can change the color of the bucket trucks too. That's a little bit more expensive, but you can. So if you are a community that's used to orange or red or yellow, you can actually change the color of the bucket trucks to make sure it's super hyper focused on what you do. Finally, take advantage of the cooperative business model. It is literally the best thing you have going. Not just the structure, it's the community, it's the partnership between the G&T, the distribution cooperative, the statewide associations, the supplier bases that support you, the way that you interact with your communities, the fact that you're not for profit. It's all of that resonates and is a part of the cooperative business model. And it's not something that Touchstone Energy has talked a lot about. We talk about the cooperative difference, we talk about the cooperative advantage, we talk about safety, but really talking about how all of these pieces work together is not something we've done before, until now. So this is another ad. It was filmed or put together entirely with existing video assets. We didn't do any new production for this, and we produced, I believe, about 20 different versions, and this is Ohio's Electric Cooperatives version.
Ohio's electric cooperatives power your world. From our generation partners, to your local cooperative, to you, we work together to keep the lights on. Using the latest innovations in technology, we're not just keeping up with change, we're leading it and building a brighter future. Ohio's electric cooperatives, moving forward together.
So that was our gift to our regional members, and we hope that they enjoy that and are able to use that at different events to, again, continue the messaging and the education of the value of that cooperative business model and how we all work together. So this is just a little bit about Touchstone Energy. We are, at the heart of everything we do is you. It's our members. Every idea, we have lots of ideas. I have ideas constantly. It's annoying to my staff, I think, but they all are vetted and they come through our membership. So if you have ideas, if your brain is also constantly moving and thinking about different and new ways to do things, send them my way. That's what we want to hear. We want to be able to serve you in where you are today. We've got a fantastic leadership group and just a really top-notch staff. I couldn't do this without the 16 folks back in Arlington that are really working every day very hard for all of you. And this is our map. I'm not going to say everything that's on here, but know that we have an intentional vision for how we support our members. And it starts with helping you understand your member needs, helping you leverage professional content and services. If you're a Touchstone Energy member, you never start with a blank piece of paper. A lot of work has already been done. We help folks connect creatively. We support business relationships with business members, and then we support and advance a commitment to service excellence. So we work with our 600 plus members, almost 700 members across the country, taking them and you through this process every day. And so it's just truly the honor of my professional career to be here and to be able to support you all. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity. And now, for the real part of the show is to hear from our fantastic panel, because they're the ones that implement and support their communities every day to drive satisfaction and leverage Touchstone Energy services, but really focused on, again, that high-performing culture. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourself, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. Why don't we start with Tim?
Tim Street, Logan County Electric Cooperative CEO, President and CEO. Been out there since December of 2022, so I'm the newest of the CEOs on the panel, but glad to be here.
Thank you.
I guess that would make me the middle child. I'm Tom Wolfenbarger from Butler Rural Electric Cooperative. I've been general manager since July of 2020.
Awesome.
Matt Berry, Midwest Electric, CEO since 2017. Started at Midwest in 2000. Prior to that, I was at a co-op in Michigan since '92.
All right. A lot of cooperative experience on this stage, and also really good ACSI scores. So we reached out to our members who are a part of that high-performing cooperative cohort that I mentioned in that research, because I knew they'd have great things to share. So wanted to start with just a really general question for all of you. And I'd love you to share with the audience some of your co-op's efforts to get member feedback, because that's where it starts, is those opportunities to elicit feedback.
I think we'd just take every opportunity, whether it's a member phone conversation. We also participate heavily with ACSI through our social media channels, our website, all those different aspects. We really try to get and solicit that feedback from our members so that it drives what we do on a daily basis, what messaging we're trying to send to our members. And I really think that for me, it's easy for me to say, I mean, we're one county cooperative, so I'm a little bit different than Tom and Matt in the fact that I've got 4,700 meters in one county. So I tell our group, my employee group and team, is the fact that there's advantages to being a one-county co-op, and there's some disadvantages of being a one-county co-op, but certainly they're seen every day in our territory and in our service area. Our folks are out there on the front lines being seen, and so that comes a lot with. So I said, having attentive ears, be hearing what's going on. I said, you hear from the membership more than I do, so I need you to be a partner with me to keep me posted of what's going on.
That's great. How about Tom?
We're a little bit similar to Tim. We have participated in the ACSI survey for many, many years. And in addition to that, we survey after every service order that we do and try to pass information along to our supervisors so that they can make adjustments if needed along the way. And in the last couple of years, we've been participating in the front porch forums. I think we've done 2 already, going to do another one this fall. Just to get feedback. And like Tim said, we do monitor our social network accounts and do try to respond. We're probably not 100% at that, because sometimes for a couple people that gets kind of overwhelming, but we will try to do that as much as possible.
That's great.
Same thing, Tim and Tom said similar things. We also do still the old-fashioned in-person annual meeting. We just see that as part of what the co-op should do, and we do a wide open, no holds barred Q&A, where it's they actually can have the microphone, and so far that's gone okay. But so yeah, we think it's important to have that old-fashioned annual meeting. The service order surveys, we do those too. After every service order is closed, they automatically get this 4 or 5 question survey. And the purpose of that is for process improvement. We see if we drop the ball somewhere, and so we can improve those processes to make it better. And then just a few years ago, we started member engagement groups. Stole the idea, actually, I think it was in this room, Cherryland Electric came and talked to this group about that, and then Mid-Ohio kind of copied what John Metcalf was doing there as well. But so that's a small group of about 20 members or so, but they're the more engaged type, and so there's a lot of discussion, a lot of feedback with that group.
Like I said, it is just giving people a voice makes such a difference in being able to raise satisfaction levels. So let's start with you on the next question, Matt, because you mentioned annual meetings. I was shocked in our most recent survey, because we hear pretty regularly that lots of folks have not gone back to in-person That is not what our data showed. And it showed that most were going back to in-person, more traditional meetings. So in addition to your annual meeting, do you do any other kinds of member events?
Yeah, so the member engagement group I mentioned, we also do annually a political action. Usually it's a breakfast. This past year, though, we did a dinner. So we have about 700 members in our political action group, and they all get an invitation to that. And this past year, we coordinated that work together with Paulding Putnam Electric and did sort of a joint event. And there was, I forget, maybe 200 or 300 people that came to that event. And we get like Congressman Jim Jordan, Bob Ladd, and people like that who will come and be speakers. So that's a really important outreach to help promote that program as well. And then we're also doing, in the past we did member dinner meetings where we would go throughout our service territory, basically by substation, and have a dinner meeting. We'd get about 50 people to those. We're changing that a little bit. It's going to be a more casual event. I think Consolidated does these brews and views things or something like that. We kind of stole, so the co-op way, right? Something
Admire
works
and
and
acquire.
admire and acquire, yeah. So it worked well for them, so we're going to steal their idea, and I'm sure others do it too. But we'll have some casual events. There's some coffee places that are on our lines. That we've got a winery on our lines. We've got a brewery on our lines. So we'll do the events. We try to do it at a member location, and then it'll be more casual. There won't really be like a 30-minute presentation or anything like that, but it's more of a casual meet and greet.
That's great, because it's also engaging with your business members as well. That's so smart. How about you, Tom?
Our big event that we do in addition to the annual meeting is, we call it Family Day. So it's a family appreciation day where we bring in clowns, games. We cook hot dogs for everybody and make it a whole day to do that. Over and above that, we've started doing, and these are not maybe direct membership events, but some education events with local high schools, E3 education events, and a couple ag events at a local farm. That maybe you have a few parents there, but the kids go home and they tell mom and dad what they dealt with that day. So
that's great. How about you, Tim?
So of the panel, I'm the one that does not have a traditional annual meeting. We have a telephone town hall. We've found a lot of success in that. We used to have an in-person meeting there at our cooperative office. Have taken it to the town hall format and have had some success with that. But what we realized is we missed the interaction piece that you all talk about at your annual meetings, that Q&A, at least an opportunity to discuss with whether it's the GM, CEO, and or employees. And so what we've really done is extended that to an ice cream social. About 3 weeks after our town hall in June, we have an ice cream social. Not really a formalized presentation other than come, have some ice cream, and this year we actually had root beer floats, and so the dynamic piece of that whole event was we got a keg of root beer.
All right.
So that was, brought people in. We were pumping the keg up and getting excited about that. So that's a good opportunity for us to interact with our membership. We also have, very similar to what Phil's doing at Consolidated, as Matt mentioned, we have member aware meetings where we're trying to go either out to the members, either at a coffee shop and having that interaction, or inviting them to the cooperative to get more in-depth information if they so desire. So we're looking for those different ideas. We're acquiring an event that Dark and Butler do together, feeding some 4-H families at the fair move-in, and so we're looking to implement that in our area. You're going to serve non-members as well, but it does give an opportunity to again share the differences of where we are different, where those benefits of being a member. It just gives us an opportunity to be out in front of some of those folks and those 4-H families that most likely are members as well.
That's great, and I think this is my takeaway is there's not one thing. It's not, ooh, we're finished, we found the event, and we're going to do that forever. And that really, my experience, and I think what I hear when I moderate panels like this is you have to constantly be changing. If there was a day when you could solve the problem and just, okay, I have my checklist of things that I do and I'm going to do them throughout the year, you have to constantly be evolving. And those are some really creative ways of finding different ways to engage with your members. So if you remember on the slide, that really data-heavy slide about member demographics, that the cooperatives that track member demographics are among the high-performing co-ops. And so I just wanted to talk with you all. Do you collect demographics? How? You know, what kind of things do you work with your members to know about them? Because it can go from, this is a person who likes renewable energy and drives an electric vehicle and is a female under the age of 25. You know, like it can go very deep, or it can be, we know who's men and women and ages and such. So I'd just love to hear a little bit from you guys on what is that depth and how do you collect that?
We're certainly, when we have our members on the phone, we want to know, or we're trying to collect just household data mainly.
Okay.
How many people are in the home, and then try to get that age demographic there, just so that we're meeting their need, we're providing information that's relevant to them and their situation. We find from the ACSI score in those verbatim comments that our folks are really interested in ways to save energy, and so when we communicate that back out through our different channels of communication, we're trying to hit that in different ways so that we can meet their needs. So those are some of the key demographics that we're looking to track.
Okay.
Yeah, we use the ACSI as our main data source. We also statewide puts together our annual power requirement study, which usually includes a appliance saturation survey, and we use that information as well. And so it's an area we're looking to try to improve. You know, as we're an NISC user, and they're moving to their new Connect product, and we're looking forward to being able to use Connect marketing to be able to segment our messages a lot more than we do today. So
that's great.
Now, targeted marketing is an area that I think we need to do more on, and actually the OEC folks, we're going to be working with them this year with Inside Information. That company, that's really what they do, is targeted marketing. So we'll be doing more of that at this point going forward, because there's a lot of value in it, and we're kind of missing out on hitting some goals in different things that we want to accomplish, and that targeted marketing is going to help us do that.
100% agree. We are in the I mentioned our Cooperative Advantage survey that we're going to be rolling out later this year. We were putting together basically the survey instrument. We're starting that process, and we're looking at how deep do we want to go on demographics, because you can ask everything, but are you going to use it? Is it going to help you move the needle? So open opportunity. Tell me what would be helpful for you to know. Now, it wouldn't be comprehensive for any of you, but it would be a sampling, but it would start to kind of pull the thread on understanding your member owners possibly in a more detailed way. Right now, we're just kind of focused on the basics, but if there's things that would be helpful to you, let me know, because we have an opportunity to start from the ground on collecting that type of information. So the cooperative business model, the cooperative advantage, the cooperative difference, there's a million different ways to talk about it, but that sort of inherent model that drives how cooperatives operate. I'd love to learn a little bit, and let's start with Tom this time. How do you highlight that advantage of being served by a cooperative to your membership?
Well, we sort of piggybacked on something Matt started a few years ago with a member value campaign. And so last year we did our first one in the first quarter prior to our ACSI survey to see if it had an impact. We ended up scoring the same score, but I believe it had an impact because 2 weeks before the survey went out, we had an outage on Easter morning. And my history is if you have holiday outages, people remember those for a long time.
Worse. Yeah.
And so the fact that we scored the same on the survey, to me, says that the campaign was successful. So we're going to do a year-long campaign this year and keep that up as
terrific.
well. So.
Yeah, so like Tom mentioned, we recognize that a few years ago, at least our assumption is that the members' perception of value ties in with their overall satisfaction, and it just seems to be common sense. So we've done quite a bit to try to drive that perception of value. the value of electricity as well as the value of a cooperative. And the value of electricity, we do that in a very tangible way, talking about everything you can get for $1 of electricity, or comparing the cost of electricity to you know, a Happy Meal or things like that. Because it's something we take for granted. It's always there, so we take it for granted. We don't really appreciate, as consumers, we don't appreciate the value that electricity provides. So we think that's been successful in really moving that needle over the years. And then along with that, the value of the cooperative program. And so that's an ongoing challenge as well. Patronage is one of the things that we try to communicate. We're very aggressive with our patronage retirement. So to show that value, to try to get through the communications clutter, that's a really tough challenge. But the easy access, the community aspect, our Roundup programs, our economic development program. So we just try to focus on that local, member-owned. You talked about member identity. We try to push that. We use a lot of the Touchstone tools that you have. We personalize the ads like you were talking about in social media and whatever other vehicles we can. So it's just a constant. You're trying to break through that clutter. I know last year our communication score, our general communications in the ACSI, it's still in the excellent range, above 4.5, but it has been kind of just a little bit inching down. And it's really odd because we keep, I think we're doing better all the time in communications, but people are just so bombarded. There's so much, and it's just getting harder and harder to break through that clutter.
That is totally, I have a thought I want to share.
Go
I want
ahead.
you to go, okay,
No,
because
go
I'll
ahead.
forget it, thank you. My brain is full. I think what you're seeing is, we're trying harder, but everyone's experiences from every entity they work with is changing at the same time. So that just raises expectations. I mean, I get frustrated because, I live in DC, or the DC suburbs, so I'm spoiled with Amazon, but I'm like, I can't get that today. I wanted that this afternoon. Like, I have to wait till tomorrow morning. I mean, that's ridiculous expectations that some of these service providers are setting for us, and it's impacting, I think, the entire business world, because that's what people are starting to expect. So we do have to keep always doing better.
And not to I'll just piggyback a little bit on what they were saying. We do a lot of similar things, but I really use our outside crew as a catalyst to provide that cooperation among cooperative, or the cooperative difference. It seems like any social media posts that our communications team has put out in the past that revolve around the outside crew, it gets a lot more attention. And so we use those photographs, those opportunities, those couple sentences to really kind of talk a little bit about the difference in subtle ways. And so we do that quite often, because those are those posts that get the most traction. And it's nothing that I'm doing, other than our communications folks really just taking the opportunity to keep that messaging going forward. So to add on to what they've already mentioned, I would say that would be one unique thing that we try to do to get that cooperative difference information out there.
Absolutely. So Tim mentioned, people action shots. So we do a lot of LinkedIn. That's one of our dominant social media channels, because it's B2B. So I know a lot of you probably follow us. After Helene, we got a fantastic, a heartbreaking in many cases, photography from South Carolina. They shared their whole portfolio with us. And one of their pictures was this boat that was sort of like turned upside down, and it said, "Thank a lineman." And it was a boat, I think, that had been moved to be somewhere it shouldn't be in the storm. And the amount of engagement it got versus our normal run-of-the-mill social media posts, I think it was like 4 or 5-fold. It wasn't even a close call, and we do pretty good. Like, I'm like, ooh, yay, we that got a lot of likes or whatever. But this was just through the roof, and it's people want to. Not that liking a social media post is doing anything. We all know that, but it does make you feel like I'm aware. I see that people are struggling. I see the people who are out there helping, and I recognize it. And so I think it just gives the people that opportunity to recognize the good work that your staff are doing during difficult times. All right, so I have one more question, and then we're get your questions going because we have a little bit of time. But so, what would you consider the most unique or the most impactful thing that you've done as your co-op to drive your high levels of satisfaction? I know that's a tough one, but you had these questions in advance, so
I don't know how unique it is really, but we have taken the ACSI survey and those key drivers and really tried to take that into a full year worth of communications plan. That's what our communications plan has revolved around the last few years, is really what is impactful, what is important to our membership, and we tried to integrate that in through whether it's our local pages in the magazine, whether that's our social media, whether that's at the front counter with information cards. So it's not, flashy and something that's uber unique. It's just that we tried to consistently monitor that, and we do think that that's ultimately why our score continues to be at the top end, because we constantly are telling the members what they want to know more about.
That's exactly right. It's usually not the fanciest things that make a difference. It is that consistency, because when you miss an opportunity to do that, if you're like, oh gosh, the page is due for the magazine and I don't really have anything, so you just put something together real quick, you've missed a chance to reinforce those key messages that you know are important to your members. So I think that's brilliant.
And we do something similar with putting together a formal communication plan. It makes it consistent throughout the year across all the platforms, so I think that helps quite a bit with what we do. We normally score the highest on our ACSI for having knowledgeable and friendly employees, but I think to add on to that, I think we're doing a better job of letting the members know what it is that we're doing on their behalf. Mm-hmm. And those are the ones that we get the good feedback from. And in fact, anytime you're on a social platform, there's a risk there that somebody puts something bad out there. But what we've noticed is that our members are our best advocates. Somebody puts something bad out there, it's immediately followed up by 2 or 3 positive comments about our co-op. So
self-policing.
And to the point where I've said for years, we spend a lot of time and money on what I would call our worst customers, the ones that don't pay and do all that, and we don't do so much for those that really support us. So one program we're starting this year is when we see a positive comment on social media, we're going to send a postcard to that person saying, we like your energy.
That's so
Thanks
great.
for supporting us.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great idea.
Well, our strategy is with the ACSI is we take the question that has actually the lowest score. And there's 20, 25 questions in the surveys that we do in Ohio. And we take the item that has the lowest score. We figure, well, that's your greatest room for improvement. And we focus on that until that score goes up, and then which one is the next lowest score. So for years it was outage communications, and it was into the 3 range, like a 3.5 or whatever on a 5 scale. So we focused on that issue for years, how to improve outage communications with members. And it was a team effort, because it's everything from the linemen to dispatchers to member service reps to the communications folks. Technology's involved with that. And it took a few years, and it took technology, but eventually now that's in the excellent range, well above the 4.5 threshold to be in the excellent range, and it's no longer our lowest score. So that's been our approach, is just focus on the single lowest score. Lately, the last few years, it's been the question of helping members be more efficient in their electric use. And we score good on it, but it's our single lowest score, so we focus on that. And it's mostly a communications issue. We do offer quite a bit to help them be more efficient, but it's just getting through that clutter and making it an awareness issue.
Right. That's fantastic. It's that data-driven approach of what can make the biggest impact, and it's not just I want a better score, so let's focus on that. That's what your members are feeling, is that there's opportunities to improve there. So that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. All right. Does anyone have a question for our panelists? We covered a lot, so. All right. Well, I will say my flight was canceled, and so I'm literally going to run out of this room to go try to get on one that I was able to rebook. But everybody hopefully knows how to reach me. anytime. I want to hear from you. I would love your ideas. Like I said, we are starting this new research tool, which is a real opportunity to start something fresh and make it really exactly what we need today. So would love your thoughts, and really appreciate the invitation to be here today, and thank my esteemed panelists. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.